The film opens with Jin Ho-ji, a hot-headed officer known for his strict discipline and unwavering adherence to his self-imposed rules. Currently under disciplinary action for disregarding prosecutorial requests, Ho-ji, utilizing his authority as a high-ranking police officer, brutally violates the suspect's human rights, specifically punching the suspect in the mouth. Nicknamed Jin Dog, he relentlessly pursues cases until the truth is revealed, never letting go. Today, Ho-ji faces his superiors, who list his offenses, but he remains steadfast in his belief that his actions were justified. The scene shifts to nightfall. Soo-hai, a young woman, is walking home when she's knocked unconscious and abducted. She awakens with a throbbing headache, trapped in a room filled with plastic sheeting. Soo-hai frantically searches for an exit. The pervert, revealing his face, claims Soo-hai was in an accident and that he saved her life. He offers her a phone to call her parents, but throws it away when she reaches for it. Soo-hai runs for the main door, only to find it locked. The pervert grabs her and stabs her in the thigh with a knife. Understanding that removing the knife will cause excessive bleeding, she crawls away, leaving a trail of blood. Using her earphones, she calls her mother, who immediately contacts the police. Police and rescue teams rush to the scene, sirens wailing. Jin-ji, on his motorcycle, intercepts them, arguing that the sirens will alert the perpetrator. He asks Soo-hai if she can see anything through a window that might help locate the police. The apartment building is sealed with black soundproofing foam, rendering her view useless. Soo-hai, with a knife still embedded in her thigh, is weakening. She provides crucial information. The perpetrator's apartment lacks sanitary napkins. Jin Dog deduces this isn't the perpetrator's home. He investigates a 4-month-old missing persons case involving a young woman. The police raid the wrong apartment and mistakenly arrest an innocent person. At the perpetrator's building, a neighbor knocks, complaining about the strong smell of cigarette smoke coming from the perpetrator's bathroom. The perpetrator apologizes profusely and sends the neighbor away. Unable to locate Soo-hai, Jin Dog makes the reckless decision to have her start a fire, hoping the smoke will attract the fire department and lead to her rescue. Soo-hai, weakened from blood loss, struggles to light the fire. Hearing her mother's voice, Soo-hai finds renewed strength and finally sets the fire. She collapses, hiding in the bathroom. The abundance of plastic in the room fuels the fire rapidly. The perpetrator finds his keys and opens the door, reveling in his seeming success. But Jin Dog and the others arrive quickly. Jin Dog finds Soo-hai. The perpetrator is standing behind them. Seon and Do Jin are working below, pumping water. The perpetrator takes Jin Dog hostage. Seeing the black smoke, Jin Dog remembers his colleague's warning about a potential explosion if the door is opened. Jin Dog uses a final gambit, provoking the perpetrator into opening the burning room's door. A massive explosion erupts, throwing Jin Dog and the perpetrator to the ground. Do Jin rushes in, provides Soo-hai with an oxygen mask, while Seon continues pumping water outside. After a combined effort by the fire department and police, Soo-hai is rescued. Seeing Soo-hai, the pervert lunges at her, attempting to kill her. Seon repeatedly urges Jin Dog to wake up and punch the pervert. Just in time, Jin Dog regains consciousness, stopping the pervert from reaching Soo-hai and biting him hard on the thigh. He then effortlessly subdues the pervert, pinning him to the ground and laughing triumphantly. "If you get bitten by this Jin Dog, there's no cure," he boasts. "I thought I'd broken all my teeth." The case is closed at 9:35 am, the hostage rescued and the criminal apprehended within 57 minutes of the initial report. Investigations reveal the perpetrator is Do Chin, a 37-year-old veterinarian suspended for over-prescribing medication. Jin Dog remarks, "No wonder it smelled like that." In the ambulance, Do Chin scoffs at Jin Dog's tenacity, asking, "What kind of cop bites like a dog?" Jin Dog retorts, "Do Chin, be serious. Confess, how many people have you killed?" Jin Dog's interrogation methods are, to say the least, unique. Do Chin cheerfully admits to killing 5.5 people, explaining that one victim was only half killed. Jin Dog deduces Do Chin's modus operandi, staging deaths as accidents, using animal tranquilizers to incapacitate victims, and transporting them using a wheelchair, all while maintaining the guise of a caring husband and good Samaritan. Do Chin's motive is equally absurd, pure, unadulterated gratification of his twisted desires. Seon, unable to contain herself, sprays antiseptic directly onto Du Chin's facial wounds and applies 2 cotton pads. "Saving people is good, but making him suffer feels even better," she says. Jin Dog's father, Chief Prosecutor Jin Chin-young, calls but is met with a switched-off phone. Ma Ti-woa warns Young to restrain Jin Dog, fearing he'll cause major trouble for their families. Jin Dog signs a lease for an apartment next to Sion and Du Jin. While heading up in the elevator with them, Sion announces a new emergency call. A suspected suicide case requires immediate response and opening the door. The police mobilize officers on duty. Code 2, an emergency code signifying life-threatening danger or imminent crime, is issued. The victim is Hyun-seo, a teenage girl navigating the turbulent transition from childhood to adulthood. Rescue and police units arrive at Hyun-seo's apartment. Her mother last contacted her a day ago. Jin Dog recognizes the address, it's his friendly landlady's apartment. Du Jin prepares to force the door open, but the landlady stops him, mentioning the costly repairs from a previous forced entry. Understanding her concerns, Du Jin and his team find an alternative approach. Du Jin scales the building using water pipes, prompting Jin Dog to exclaim, "Just like Spider-Man, except he doesn't shoot webs." Sion and Du Jin successfully enter through a window and find Hyun-seo motionless on her desk. Sion checks her pulse, it's steady. Her mother enters, panicked, fearing the worst. Hyun-seo suddenly awakens, looking confused. Sion informs Du Jin that the substance on the desk is poison. Upon hearing this, the mother attacks Hyun-seo, lamenting the loss of her only child. Du Jin intervenes, while Sion questions Hyun-seo about the poison, asking when and how much she ingested. Jin Dog picks up a bottle and states that Hyun-seo drank from it. The mother wants the police and rescue team to leave, citing the cost of medical care and the lack of suicide coverage in her insurance. Seeing her prioritize money over her daughter's life, Jin Dog makes her sign a waiver, stating that the police won't be held responsible if a crime has occurred and that she will face a 7-year prison sentence. The mother, after some bargaining, 700,000 won, it's heartbreaking. Ripping 7 calendars off the wall, no way, relents, allowing the officers to proceed with their investigation. Hyun-seo is rushed to the hospital, experiencing severe discomfort and shortness of breath. Dr. Jai-hai smells the poison and instructs the nurse to withhold oxygen, ordering immediate urine analysis, liver and kidney function tests, and stomach pumping. The tests reveal that Hyun-seo ingested paraquat, with a dosage 5 times the lethal limit 60 ml. Because of the high oxygen environment during transport, the poison spread more rapidly. The doctor fears she'll die soon. Hyun-seo's face turns blue. She apologizes to her mother before her heart stops. Despite resuscitation efforts, Hyun-seo passes away at 10:47 p.m. Hyun-seo's heartbreaking last words to Sion before dying remain unspoken. Sion is overcome with guilt for not understanding Hyun-seo's plight, leading to a faster death. The mother's anguished cries fill the room. Jin Dog examines Hyun-seo's phone and finds a message threatening her life. "Let me end your 15 years in 15 seconds. The sender used an international SIM card, with messages self-deleting after a period, making tracing difficult through the anonymous app, whose server is located in Russia. Jin Dog immediately recognizes the pattern of sextortion. At Hyun-seo's funeral, the mother physically attacks Sion for the doctor's decision not to administer oxygen. Sion repeatedly apologizes. Jin Dog arrives and is also attacked for attempting to collect vaginal fluids for testing, explaining that sperm can survive for a week, and cremation would destroy any evidence. Du Jin tries a less effective emotional appeal. Jin Dog considers the case a failure. Du Jin exits, informing Hyun-seo's mother that she's agreed to proceed, a slap in the face to Jin Dog's self-perception. Jin Dog tells them to contact the National Legal Office. Hyun-seo's classmates attend the funeral, appearing apathetic and glued to their phones. Jin Dog, deeming them disrespectful, orders them to put away their phones, having already cut off the Wi-Fi. Annoyed, the students leave. At the funeral, Jin Dog notices a suspicious individual. He observes but doesn't act immediately. Back at the station, they analyze Hyun-seo's profile. Jin Dog believes someone was with Hyun-seo when she ingested the pesticide. The perpetrator, witnessing her survival, sent the threatening message. Anna reports finding no semen. Forensic reports describe Hyun-seo as a well-behaved student ostracized by her peers. She rarely used social media. Seon finds Hyun-seo's social media account revealing her pessimistic outlook and juxtaposing her complaints with photos of her dining at expensive restaurants. Jin-dog focuses on these restaurants, leading him and his team to Man-sik, the suspicious individual from the funeral. Cham and Pin question Man-sik, who denies knowing Hyun-seo. Jin-dog examines Man-sik's palm, finding no evidence of involvement. Man-sik is revealed to be Hyun-seo's father. Hyun-seo had once asked him for 10 million won, a substantial amount for a student. Back at Hyun-seo's apartment, Jin-dog discovers fluorescent fingerprints on the wall. Analysis yields no match. Comparing the fingerprints to those on cups from the funeral, he finds a match: Jun-tae, Hyun-seo's classmate. At Jun-tae's home, he attempts to destroy his phone in a microwave. In the interrogation room, Jun-tae boasts about the lack of evidence. Jin-dog, however, retrieves evidence and presents Jun-tae with a vial of medicine. Recognizing it, Jun-tae reveals a coffee allergy. Jin-dog then plays a song, causing Jun-tae to visibly panic. Officer Pin arrives with Jun-tae's phone data. Jun-tae violently throws the phone and medicine vial, revealing himself as a school loan shark and gambling organizer. He blackmailed Hyun-seo into participating, demanding monthly payments. When she missed a payment, he invaded her home, photographed her, and threatened to post the pictures online. He then forced her to drink the poison, insulting her. Seeing her drink it, he fled, later observing the funeral and sending the threatening text. Jun-tae confesses everything, smirking because he's under 14 and below the age of criminal responsibility. Jin-dog, however, points out that his actions will be prosecuted once he turns 14. He announces Jun-tae's charges, bypassing the prosecutor and court, knowing the prosecution will take 3 months, by which time Jun-tae will be old enough to face the consequences. The scene shifts to Jin-dog's father's house. Tae-woa observes that if Jin-dog weren't a police officer, he'd likely be a serial killer. Understanding that Young would never willingly bury his son, Tae-woa decides to take matters into his own hands. The next morning, Jin-dog goes to the forest, unearths a wooden box, places a folded origami crane representing Hyun-seo inside, and then returns home. Finally, he enters the house rumored to be haunted. Records show it previously burned down. The tenant, Tae-hun, 28, disappeared 2 days after the fire. Jin-dog spends his first night in the house, unable to sleep despite attempting to calm himself. The next morning, at the station, he's sleeping in the restroom, overwhelmed by the case. Surrounded by files, he begins his investigation, accompanied by Officer Pin. They return to the rented house, tearing up the floorboards, even those charred from the previous fire. Seon and Do-jin, hearing the commotion, investigate. Jin-dog discovers what appears to be blood, indicating a potential crime scene. Do-jin is tasked with determining if the fire was accidental or intentional. He provides Jin-dog with photos taken by the fire department, concluding that fire requires fuel, oxygen, and an ignition source. The puzzling aspect is the lack of accelerants like gasoline or kerosene, and no apparent motive for arson. The only motive would be concealing the blood evidence. Jin-dog follows a blood trail from the center of the house to the bathroom, noticing inconsistencies between old and new floor tiles. He orders the septic tank to be emptied, discovering a substance with a distinct crime scene smell. Tests confirm it's human tissue, though DNA is undetectable. The fire department identifies the accelerant, a cleaning solution containing 83% ethanol. Jin-dog continues researching the case files, suspecting the victim's girlfriend, Mi-young, noting that the file mentions her fear of water, suggesting she may have dismembered the body in a bathtub, flushing the remains down the toilet, the bones hidden elsewhere. Jin-dog confirms Mi-young still lives in the apartment and is about to marry a high-ranking company official. Noticing her suspicious behavior and knowing her ex-boyfriend, Tae-hun, he mentions to Mi-young that his boss had seen Tae-hun somewhere. At the mention of her ex-boyfriend's name, Mi-young becomes agitated, coughing violently. Jin-dog offers her a drink, noticing a severe burn mark on her hand, previously concealed by a bandage. Jin-dog returns home and seals off his apartment. He invites Seon for instant ramen. Lawyer Jang secretly photographs Jin-dog from afar. Seeing the convenience store employee interact with Jin-dog, Jang rushes to warn Tae-woa, revealing Jin Dog's presence in T1 is deliberate. If the convenience store employee's involvement is discovered, T-Woa's connection to the Juventus Club will be exposed. Jang orders the employee eliminated. Jin Dog, unable to sleep in his apartment due to nightmares, borrows Do Jin's bathroom. He discovers unusual plumbing in Do Jin's bathroom. Together, they remove the bathtub, revealing a strong odor of decaying flesh and numerous black bags containing human bones. Jin Dog sends the bags to the forensic lab. Jin Dog's father, Young, brings documents indicating his son's unauthorized examination of the remains. Young urges Jin Dog to quit being a police officer and join his firm. Jin Dog refuses. The forensic examiner reports the victim suffered a broken arm from a strong blow, followed by a semicircular fracture to the skull caused by a blunt object. But this wasn't fatal. They also find a fragment of a knife blade among the bones, a long, sharp, gray blade. DNA analysis confirms it is T-Hun. Jin Dog and Officer Pin visit the fire department where Do Jin shows them a material capable of self-combustion, newspaper treated with ink. The perpetrator used newspaper as an accelerant, creating a fire without needing to be present. A lighter, more flammable liquid than gasoline was used, igniting the curtains, then the bed, and finally the floorboards. The ethanol was placed to cause a larger explosion, explaining the severe floor damage. Jin Dog, seemingly understanding the culprit's intentions, removed his protective glove, revealing a black smudge. Remembering Ma Young's burn mark, he muttered, "It's time to cuff Ma Young." At Ma Young's house, she lifted the toilet lid, retrieved a black wrapped object, and disposed of it. Perhaps due to guilt, she saw the ghostly image of T-Hun everywhere. When the police entered Ma Young's apartment, she was gone. A blackened burn mark on the window confirmed Jin Dog and Do Jin's suspicions this was where Ma Young started the fire. Under a table, Jin Dog found a container of thinner. Ma Young turned herself in at the police station, mistaking an officer for the blood-soaked T-Hun seeking revenge. She poured thinner on the innocent officer, intending to set them both ablaze with a lighter. Jin Dog and Do Jin intervened, pulling Ma Young and the officer to safety just as the lighter fell into the flammable liquid, causing an explosion. Her guilty conscience, stemming from her many secrets, had trapped her. The long knife found at the scene matched the fragment in the skeleton. Jin Dog questioned Ma Young about the brutal attack on her ex-boyfriend, sensing coercion. Sobbing, she recounted how T-Hun had pressured her into an abortion. When she tried to break up with him that evening, he threatened her with her medical records, saying he would spread the news of her abortion if she left him. The next morning, Ma Young decided to kill T-Hun. Jin Dog then showed Ma Young that the medical record was forged. She was distraught, realizing she had committed this horrific act because of a fake document. The case concluded, leaving everyone heartbroken for Ma Young. Jin Dog, however, believed that even with T-Hun's despicable actions, he didn't deserve to die, and Ma Young would pay the price for her actions. Back at home, Jin Dog avoided his room. Chi-Yeon treated his hand wound. Do Jin joined them, and then T-Woa entered. Jin Dog was surprised to see him, assuming he was beyond redemption. Without hesitation, Jin Dog introduced T-Woa as the brazen killer who had evaded capture. T-Woa threw a paper crane at Jin Dog, warning him to be careful before leaving. At a restaurant, a mother and her daughter were washing dishes together. The daughter was very cute and sweet to her mother. That evening, the rescue team and police received a report of a car accident. A little girl had been thrown onto the roof of a bus stop. It was the same sweet and adorable little girl from earlier that day. The medical report simply stated that the patient suffered injuries from a collision with a vehicle. The little girl had been hit and thrown onto the bus stop roof. Her name was Yi Seon. It was unknown who hit her and fled the scene. It was truly outrageous. Chi-Yeon and Do Jin used a ladder to rescue her. Seon was currently breathing weakly. Her airway obstructed due to hemorrhagic edema and needed immediate hospitalization. They gently carried her down. Jin Dog immediately asked Seon's mother what happened. She explained that after work, they were walking home when Seon's stuffed animal fell. Seon ran back to pick it up and was suddenly hit by a white car. On the ambulance, Seon stopped breathing. Chi-Yeon decided to insert an endotracheal tube. Before he could finish, a white car blocked their path. Jin Dog quickly commandeered a police motorcycle to clear the way for the ambulance. Chi-Yeon successfully inserted the endotracheal tube, saving the girl. Her heart rate gradually increased. Si-eun was rushed to the hospital. Upon receiving the patient with the endotracheal tube in place, the doctor scolded Cheon, warning of potential complications. However, the specialist praised Cheon for his timely actions that saved her life. The next morning, the police arrived at the accident scene. The area was surrounded by abandoned factories, lacking CCTV cameras and witnesses. The police relied on tire tracks for analysis. They eventually identified the tire marks as belonging to a vehicle from the H brand. A piece of glass found at the scene was identified by forensics as belonging to a 2014 Sonata. With this information, the police traced the vehicle, a potential suspect vehicle that fled the scene. Jin Dog went to the supermarket parking lot to find the car, but before he did, a white car in parking lot 7 began to smoke. The fire department responded swiftly. Jin Dog saw the smoking car he was looking for and attempted to open it when Do Jin shouted that there was toxic smoke inside. Jin Dog retreated, allowing the rescue team to enter. A driver inside had intentionally burned charcoal and sealed the car windows. Cheon provided first aid, helping the driver expel the toxic smoke. Although it cost some oxygen, the man had to live to pay for his crime. Jin Dog told the driver his life was over, that he should never have entrusted his car to that kind of person. The hospital reported that Si-eun's brain hemorrhage had stopped. Whether there was brain damage remained to be seen, pending observation and her awakening. The driver was also admitted to the hospital. Si-eun's mother went into a frenzy upon seeing him, but the doctors called in the police. They noted that Si-eun's injuries, which had healed, totaled 16 instances. This indicated prolonged child abuse. Her healed injuries showed no treatment at a medical facility. The bruising on her legs was possibly from a weapon, but the doctors were uncertain. The police went to the daycare to investigate. The teacher showed Jin Dog the security footage. Si-eun was cheerful and showed no signs of distress. She was well behaved and polite, demonstrating good parenting. Si-eun's mother's boyfriend was a regular at the restaurant. He had swindled her money and fled. He used a false name and phone number. He often helped her care for Si-eun while she worked. His assumed name was Chun-ho, approximately 45 years old. He began a relationship with Si-eun's mother 3 years prior. There was no further evidence linking Chun-ho to the abuse of Si-eun. That evening, Jin Dog, Cheon, and Do Jin went to eat fried chicken at a convenience store. Cheon tested a nail and Jin Dog reacted reflexively, indicating a conditioned response. Typically, abused children suffer rib or spinal fractures. Si-eun's case was different. In short, from now until the case is solved, the two firefighters won't be able to eat or sleep well. Indeed, Cheon couldn't sleep all night. The next morning, Jin Dog and Officer Pin went to a repair shop and encountered Lawyer Jang. Jin Dog relentlessly teased him. There, they questioned the SIM card seller who sold the SIM card used by the scammer. The seller didn't have the customer's real name. Officer Pin found another SIM card belonging to the scammer, this time locating his address. They went to the baseball field and discovered that the hit-and-run driver and Si-eun's mother knew each other beforehand. They were trying to make the police look foolish. Jin Dog received a call from the forensic lab. The forensics showed that the girl's leg had tire tread marks matching the tire's pattern, indicating she wasn't hit head-on. Jin Dog, known for his tenacity, went to the crime scene and saw delivery drivers with helmet-mounted cameras. Jin Dog immediately went to the delivery company and reviewed the camera footage from around the time of the accident. After watching the footage, Jin Dog seemed to understand something. He summoned Si-eun's mother and the driver. Jin Dog interrogated the driver and sentenced him to 15 years in prison with a 150 million won compensation. Si-eun suffered brain death and was considered deceased. The driver wept dramatically as if he would never cry again. Meanwhile, Si-eun's mother, seeing that she hadn't received anything yet, questioned Officer Cham. The officer only said that the person who hit Si-eun was the one who defrauded her. Officer Pin entered and said the scammer driver had confessed, implicating Si-eun's mother. Officer Cham also entered the room, stating that Si-eun's mother testified that the driver was the mastermind, adding something strange. Jin Dog made his final move. He answered a phone call, then looked sternly at the driver. This psychological blow was unbearable even for someone with strong mental fortitude. Officer Pin deliberately brought the driver to meet Si-eun's mother. There, witnessing these two disguised devils confess, it was revealed that Si-eun's mother had taken out 7 accident insurance policies under Si-eun's name. She abused her own daughter to receive 85 million won in compensation. Si-eun's insurance payout could have reached 800 million won if she had been completely disabled. Si-eun's mother wanted to claim the entire amount, so she instructed the driver to run over her daughter's leg twice. Jin-dog also showed the delivery company's footage. However, because it wasn't enough to cripple Si-eun, the driver had sped up. Her pleas for help weren't genuine. If Si-eun died, they wouldn't receive any insurance money. Si-eun endured the pain without flinching so that her uncle and mother could receive the money happily. She loved her mother very much and wanted her to be happy. The mother burst into tears in front of the police. The case concluded. Chi-eun announced that Si-eun was gradually recovering. She was transferred to the intensive care unit as a miracle. Thank God for giving this kind and lovely girl a second chance at life. At the end of the film, Ti-woa's name appeared. He demanded that Mr. Young deal with his son, otherwise, when Ti-woa's father became president, Mr. Young wouldn't be able to become Minister of Justice. These people were all deeply involved. Mr. Young stood up and told Ti-woa to go die for a while, making him furious and wanting Mr. Jang to quickly deal with Jin-dog and his father. At the funeral of a young woman, a group of thugs, led by a disrespectful old man, claimed that selling one of her kidneys wouldn't even cover half of her debt to him. They then proceeded to rob the funeral offerings. The deceased woman's mother screamed curses at them, wishing them to go straight to hell. The old man showed her the loan documents. Initially a 5 million loan, it had ballooned to 30 million with interest, a clear case of predatory lending and essentially murder for profit. The next morning, the mother, along with other victims of the Demo company's loan sharking, went to court with her daughter's photograph. Mr. Jang, acting as the defense lawyer for the balding old man, repeatedly argued that Demo company's loan procedures were entirely legal, stating that borrowers were always begging and pleading when taking out loans, but became abusive when it was time to repay. The prosecutor was overwhelmed and deferred the case to the police. The mother went to the police station, providing 2 loan documents her daughter had signed with the company. The company had manipulated her daughter's signature, forging the documents. Anna, from the forensic lab, agreed to analyze the documents to determine if forgery had occurred. The prosecution promised to extend the investigation timeline to allow the forensic team sufficient time to gather evidence. That evening, at Jin-dog's house, he planned to change his stylist to look like a gangster. Feeling he wasn't tough enough, he added some red makeup to create a weathered, world-weary look. He went to a junkyard to meet the thugs for an interview. Jin-dog pretended to be experienced, demanding a 35 million won fee, significantly higher than others. The thug agreed and took Jin-dog's team to a supermarket to buy instant noodles. While Jin-dog was selecting items from the list provided by the gang leader, he ran into Chi-eun. He couldn't let her see him in this disguise. Just as he was about to escape, Choi, one of Jin-dog's accomplices, suffered a seizure and began foaming at the mouth. Chi-eun wanted to take Choi to the hospital, but Choi kept frantically calling out Pow, Jin-dog's gang name. Jin-dog had no choice but to return and insist on taking Choi to the hospital, much to Chi-eun's surprise. Choi was the same person Ti-woa was looking for. Jin-dog took Choi back to the meeting point. The gang leader gave Jin-dog and his men a new task, carrying numerous crates to the 4th floor of a Korean university building. Anna was there, investigating the loan documents. The gang leader ordered his men to lock all the doors and place explosives that would detonate upon contact with water. Jin-dog tried to buy time by demanding a higher fee, creating internal conflict. He pointed out that there were 16 people in the hallway, therefore the payment should be higher. However, his excessive talk attracted suspicion, leading to him being knocked unconscious and locked up. The gang leader began pouring gasoline around the 4th floor. It turned out he was working for Demo Company. They knew Anna was investigating and wanted to destroy all evidence. Jin-dog managed to break free from his bonds. He urged Anna to call for rescue. She estimated that if Demo Company triggered the explosives, it would take only 5 minutes for the fire to spread from the 1st to the 4th floor, resulting in a deadly fire. Anna cleverly hacked the system to cut off the oxygen supply. The police and rescue teams arrived too late. The gang leader ignited the explosives and fled. Just as the flames reached the 4th floor door, Anna released gas from the air conditioning system, extinguishing the fire. Jin Dog escaped through a ventilation shaft. The rescue team reached the 4th floor to save the remaining people. From below, Jin Dog remembered the gang leader wearing a bracelet with a remote control. He told Cheon that it was a remote control for a water sprinkler system. Activating the sprinkler system would trigger the explosion. Everyone on floors 1 to 3 was rescued. Only the 4th floor remained inaccessible due to the locked doors. The team leader ordered the 4th floor rescue team to stop and retreat. Do-jin pretended to agree, allowing them to descend, while he stubbornly continued to break the lock to rescue the people inside. Jin Dog cleverly iced the water meter, preventing water from spraying. Do-jin successfully opened the 4th floor door, and the rescue team went up to save the people trapped there. The demo company's plan failed, and the ringleader escaped overseas. The next morning, as Anna was on her way to the prosecutor's office, a car rammed into the ambulance. It was the ringleader. He frantically smashed the gas tank and tried to set it on fire. Jin Dog, like a hero, rushed to stop his heinous act. Cheon and Anna also sprayed fire extinguishers into the man's face. Finally, Jin Dog and Anna's group successfully reached the prosecutor's office. Anna's entrance terrified the bald-headed man. She forcefully declared the IU written by the bald-headed man for the unfortunate girl, dated 2022, which falsely claimed the debt began in 2019, clearly proving the crime of document forgery. Although the team was injured, the results were well worth it. Jin Dog and his comrades celebrated their victory with instant noodles in the hospital. The next morning at the police station, several gangsters were handcuffed and taken in for questioning. One of them, Choi Seo-do, escaped. Meanwhile, T-Woa planned to use a Seo-do to frame Jin Dog. He went to the hospital, found Mr. Pang Pin-gu, who was seriously ill, and threatened his daughter to make him do T-Woa a favor. Early the next morning, before sunrise, Jin Dog received a call instructing him to go to a specific location. The fire department responded to a fire at a container-based bar. The blaze was intense, and despite Do-jin and his team's efforts, the central ignition point continued to flare up. Jin Dog informed the firefighters of a nearby storage tank containing 40 tons of flammable liquid next to a paint factory. Searching the area, Jin Dog found an unconscious young man inside a container and rescued him. The fire raged. To extinguish it, they needed to vent the smoke and direct water inside. Do-jin climbed onto the roof, cutting a large hole to release the smoke and directing a water hose directly into the container. Thanks to Do-jin's actions, the fire was extinguished. Inside, firefighters found a charred body. Forensics determined that the victim, Pang Pin-gu, had a ligature mark on his neck, but his chest cavity and lungs lacked soot, indicating death before the fire. A broken neck suggested strangulation with sufficient force to fracture the hyoid bone. Forensics concluded death preceded the fire. Pang Pin-gu had a 13-year criminal record. Jin Dog began his investigation. T-Woa instructed his prosecutor, Sang-gu, to intervene, recruiting Sang-gu, who shared his ambition. Jin Dog arrived at the scene. Do-jin showed him the points of major ignition, a broken window before the fire, and the locked front door. Jin Dog found footprints, calling and not to take impressions and reconstruct the shoe sole. He found bloodstains on the floor, sending samples to forensics. Outside, police found a can of thinner, similar to one found at Ma Young's house earlier. The fire department traced the initial emergency call, potentially the arsonist reporting the fire. Back at forensics, Yoon Hong was shocked. The blood at the scene matched Jin Dog's DNA. She tested it 4 times to confirm. Jin Dog felt he'd found many clues. Fingerprints on the thinner can belong to Jin Dog. The shoe impressions matched a type of fire-resistant police boot. All evidence pointed to Jin Dog. Prosecutor Sang-gu arrived, calling T-Woa to report the increasingly interesting situation. He then announced he'd take the case, demanding all evidence from the firefighters and forensics. Sang-gu produced a memory card from T-Woa, containing video of Jin Dog near the scene. Do-jin tried to help Jin Dog, suggesting they call the initial caller, potentially the arsonist, but the number belonged to Jin Dog. Everything was against him. Yoon Hong confirmed the blood on the floor was Jin Dog's. Sang-gu promptly arrested Jin Dog. That night, police and Sang-gu interrogated Jin Dog. Sang-gu had forged Pang Pin-gu's life insurance policy, naming Jin Dog as the beneficiary. A 2.5 billion won payout if Pang Pin Gu died. The evidence was overwhelming. Jin Dog's father spoke to Ti-Woa, who, confident of victory, ignored him. Lawyer Zhang warned Ti-Woa not to underestimate him. Ti-Woa brandished a miniature cleaver, frightening Zhang. He laughed maniacally, saying Youngdu was similarly afraid. In prison, Jin Dog encountered the perverted Du Qin, who sought revenge. Du Qin taunted Jin Dog, encouraging him to stab himself. The wound, though deep, was nothing to Jin Dog. He used the opportunity to escape, going to the refugee shelter he'd visited before. Jin Dog grabbed some clothes, cleaned himself up, and went to the hospital to see the young man he'd rescued, asking him to tell Chi-On his location. She arrived immediately. Chi-On treated his wound to prevent infection. Despite the pain, he endured it. Jin Dog reviewed the security footage 20 times, noticing a reflection in the glass showing a large, vertically oriented fire. Everyone worked together to gather evidence to save Jin Dog, and at that moment, Jin Dog led a refugee from the shelter to the police station to confess. At the interrogation room, the police questioned Gu Man, the man Jin Dog led them to, asking if he was the one who killed Pan Pin and set the restaurant on fire. The police found his shoe prints at the scene. He laughed and confessed, simply stating he only wanted a full meal in jail. Anna came in and examined his hair for burn marks, finding none. Prosecutor Sang Gu entered, using a device to examine Jin Dog's hair, revealing burn marks on Jin Dog's hair. Jin Dog was handcuffed again. The prosecutor added that Du Qin was waiting for him in prison. Forensic expert Yun Hong entered, presenting Jin Dog's blood test results, showing the presence of an anticoagulant commonly used in hospital blood tests. It was a simple matter. Jin Dog had been in so many fights that the hospital frequently drew his blood. Any excess blood would be treated as medical waste. Someone framed Jin Dog by stealing his blood and placing it at the scene. The burn marks on Jin Dog's hair were from the ringleader burning his hair the day Jin Dog apprehended him. The shoe prints were also easily explained. Someone stole his shoes and planted them at the scene. The same went for the thinner found at Ma Young's house. Officer Pin vowed to make the thief who stole the evidence pay. Jin Dog had sufficient proof of his innocence. The handcuffs were removed, and he was allowed to go home and sleep. Jin Dog talked with Chief Cham. Officer Pin gave Jin Dog a white bean for good luck. Jin Dog returned home and Chi-On also gave him a white bean. Jin Dog thanked Chi-On for her help. She smiled, saying he was self-assured to the point of shamelessness, pushing others away to hide his emotions. Chi-On hit the nail on the head, causing Jin Dog to feign pain at his wound. As Chi-On checked on him, Du Jin arrived, bringing Jin Dog another white bean. Jin Dog was so sick of white beans he felt like vomiting. The three decided to eat hamburgers, Jin Dog ordering a double patty burger. The next morning, Jin Dog went to the forensic lab. Yun Hong showed him the fluorescent fiber found around the victim's neck, a special fiber used in car seat manufacturing, highly heat-resistant. However, two types of fibers were found at the scene, one that burned and one that didn't. The investigation reached a standstill. Jin Dog sought help from the fire department. Du Jin analyzed the security camera footage, showing the fire rising vertically. If the victim were lying down, the flames would only reach 50 centimeters. Du Jin and Yun Hong delved into the chemical and physical evidence, while Jin Dog used his intuition. Only those with spiritual sensitivity could sense Jin Dog's focused experiment. He used Officer Pin as a test subject. Jin Dog deduced that the victim used the fluorescent fiber to hang himself. The second, flammable fiber was hooked to his neck and tied to the floor, hence the lack of blood. The footprints were planted. The victim intended to commit suicide by hanging himself with the flammable fiber. He poured oil on himself and the floor, stood on a chair, tied the fiber to the floor, and lit himself on fire. As he lost consciousness and died, the lighter fell, igniting the oil on the floor and spreading the fire vertically. The case was almost solved, but that was only part of the truth. The real culprit was paid off by lawyer Zhang. Hyung, working for Demo, received money from Zhang and a plane ticket to escape. He fabricated the evidence to frame Jin Dog. Zhang and Ti-Woa planned to kill Xiao Du to silence him. If Jin Dog and the drug addict Xiao Du met, Xiao Du's alibi would be exposed. Back at the police station, Jin Dog discussed the murder of Xiao Ma Yung. The victim suffered 3 stab wounds, equally spaced, each about 3 centimeters deep. Continuous blood loss led to death. Jin Dog was determined to catch the killer, suspecting T-Woa, but the drug addict Seo Do had created an alibi for him. Returning to Pin Gu's case, T-Woa met him in the hospital, exploiting Pin Gu's serious illness to make a deal. Jin Dog was determined to arrest T-Woa for murder. The next day, Jin Dog and Officer Pin followed Seo Do's trail of anti-convulsant purchases to find him. Meanwhile, the balding man had taken money from T-Woa to have his henchman, Hyun, commit murder. This time, the target was Seo Do. Following orders, Hyun went to Seo Do's house and injected him with a large dose of opium, intending to make it look like an overdose. After a long and arduous search, Jin Dog found Seo Do and injected him with 2 doses of something to revive him. The 2 officers put the addict in the ambulance, covering him with a white sheet to make it appear he was dead, thus avoiding T-Woa's attention. In the ambulance, Seo Do suddenly sat up, startling Jin Dog and Officer Pin. Back at the station, Seo Do confessed that he, not T-Woa, was the person in the video dealing illegal substances. Jin Dog immediately went to arrest T-Woa, who was attempting to burn his computer and then wait on the rooftop for a helicopter. Jin Dog arrived to find his room on fire, then rushed to the rooftop. Jin Dog cleverly used a fire hose to drive the helicopter away. The powerful spray forced the helicopter to depart. Seeing his escape plan thwarted, T-Woa attacked Jin Dog's injured side. T-Woa then wrapped a fire hose around Jin Dog's neck. Jin Dog, unable to fight back, managed to throw T-Woa over the edge of the building, leaving him dangling. Jin Dog himself was severely strangled. Cheon arrived, gave first aid, and rushed him to the hospital. In the ambulance, Jin Dog's heart rate was weak, stopping at one point. Cheon performed CPR. After repeated chest compressions, his heart still wouldn't restart. In desperation, she pounded on his chest, and finally, Jin Dog's heart began beating again. Cheon rushed Jin Dog to the hospital. His condition was critical. He had a ruptured small intestine and a torn mesentery. Back at the police station, T-Woa denied all the evidence Seo Do had provided, claiming Jin Dog's injuries were an accident. His brazen attitude angered even Chief Cham, threatening T-Woa's release. Officer Pin remembered Jin Dog's words and pulled Na to check the surrounding security cameras for evidence. After a long day, they only found circumstantial evidence. At the hospital, Jin Dog remained unconscious, Cheon at his side, heartbroken. Officers Pin and Na returned, reporting they had obtained all the security footage of Seo Do and T-Woa. The police immediately sought an arrest warrant for T-Woa, but it was impossible due to Korean law. Meanwhile, Jin Dog miraculously awoke. Cheon obtained permission from the doctor for Jin Dog to go to the police station, and he received medication from the doctor. At the station, Jin Dog reviewed the footage, and Cheon devised a way to identify the person in the video. Mr. Jang set an alarm to get T-Woa out of the station. As T-Woa stepped outside, he was apprehended. Jin Dog had to personally handcuff T-Woa. Jin Dog served the arrest warrant, telling T-Woa to find a better lawyer than Mr. Jang or to remain silent and defend himself in court. T-Woa had only enjoyed 3 minutes of sunshine before being rearrested. Yoon Hong began a gait analysis. She asked T-Woa to put on clothes and walk, jump, and dance. He willingly complied, believing he had done nothing wrong. Yoon concluded that everyone has a unique gait and stride. Seo Do was asked to do the same. Analysis showed Seo Do's right foot tilted slightly inward, causing more wear on the right sole than the left. Though the 2 men looked similar, their gaits were completely different. The person in the video was Seo Do. This scientifically proven method had been used by forensics for years, leaving no room for error. T-Woa's alibi was finally shattered. That night, Jin Dog taunted T-Woa, reminding him of his reliance on his alibi, which was now gone. T-Woa tried calling his father, but his father had turned off his phone. Ma Young-do was busy with the presidential election, blaming his wife for his son's failures. He refused to acknowledge his foolish son. Lawyer Jang sent Jin Dog a gift, claiming it was from Young-do. Jin Dog accepted the gift, signaling the end of that chapter. T-Woa confessed that he and Ma Young had dinner that night. Ma Young discovered hidden cameras everywhere, including her bedroom. She refused to tolerate this, took pictures, and threatened to sue. T-Woa panicked, grabbed her hair, and stabbed her in the neck with an expensive dinner fork. His actions were recorded by a hidden camera. T-Woa's computer hard drive, containing this incriminating video, was recovered. The next day, Jin Dog learned that Hyung tried to kill Seo-do to avenge his brother. Hyung had 7 previous convictions, a veritable collection of crimes. Security footage showed Hyung riding a motorcycle. Jin Dog recalled seeing that motorcycle while searching for Seo-do. Officer Pin checked dashcam footage to identify the motorcycle's license plate. Someone was driving the motorcycle. The police pursued and stopped the driver. It wasn't Hyung. Interrogation revealed that Demo Corporation, in addition to loan sharking, was now involved in contract killings, a brutal enterprise. The scene shifted to Demo Corporation. Officer Pin applied for a job there, feigning poverty and resentment, and presented a picture of Chief Cham as his target, requesting Demo Corporation's assistance. He wired a large sum of money. Hyung appeared to carry out the hit. Officer Pin and Jin Dog had set a trap, which Hyung fell into. Next, the balding chairman of Demo Corporation was arrested. Jin Dog promised to pile on as many charges as possible to ensure a lengthy prison sentence. The Demo Corporation case was incredibly complex. Them to the culprit, emphasizing that police must uphold justice at all costs. Jin Dog went to his father, intending to question him about leaking information to criminals. His father remained silent, only turning on the TV to show Jin Dog a news report of prosecutor Sang-gu confessing to leaking information and aiding criminals. His father suggested they have dinner together. Jin Dog refused, stating he wouldn't eat with a criminal. The next day, at the fire station, Do Jin answered the phone and received news that Chi-yeon passed her performance evaluation. He and his colleagues celebrated with a party. The team leader pinned a badge on Chi-yeon, and the whole team rejoiced. T-Woa's case was a significant one, with everyone making significant contributions to the investigation. The police department, fire department, forensics lab, and forensic science teams celebrated together. After everyone left, only Jin Dog remained. He was then berated by Hyun Seo's mother, who blamed him for her daughter's death. She threw paper cranes at him, accusing him of destroying her family and her daughter's life. Jin Dog left. He recalled Hyun Seo, 7 years prior, bringing him chicken eggs every morning. Do Jin came to comfort him, and Chi-yeon brought him a box of paper cranes. Jin Dog accepted them and left. The next morning, he visited Hyun Seo's grave in the forest. His father also arrived, telling him not to blame himself. Hyun Seo's death wasn't his fault. Jin Dog vowed he would never become like his father. In a high-class apartment building, a girl sat on the railing, throwing her books and phone to the ground. Rescue workers arrived, preparing cushions in case she jumped. Chi-yeon went to her apartment, entering and calling her name, Han-na. Meanwhile, Anna and Officer Cham went to a landfill. Inside a red designer handbag, they found the remains of an underdeveloped baby. Back at Han-na's apartment, Chi-yeon spoke to her parents, saying that Han-na, like them, couldn't choose her child, and the child couldn't choose its parents. Han-na considered herself a failure. Do Jin successfully climbed up to the apartment and pulled Han-na inside. She suffered minor injuries and only needed to be carried on a stretcher. The forensic examiner received the unidentified baby's body. Its weight and size suggested a premature birth. The uncut umbilical cord, not severed with medical instruments, indicated the mother had abandoned it. If the baby had lived after birth, its lungs would have contained air and floated. However, the lungs sank, proving the baby died at birth. Anna took the handbag for testing. It was a limited edition, available only to VIP customers, increasing the chances of identifying the owner. However, when Anna and the white bear, presumably a colleague or partner, went to the handbag store, the employee revealed the bag was a counterfeit, offering no further assistance. Officer Cham and Anna's investigation hit a dead end. Officer Pin told Officer Cham he found a receipt in the placenta bag, a receipt for an expensive meal. This provided a new lead. At the detention center, Jin Dog visited T-Woa, offering him a lollipop and subtly coercing him to reveal the mastermind behind him. T-Woa feigned fear, saying he only spoke because Jin Dog was alive. Otherwise, he was just dog shit in front of that person. That night, Jin Dog returned to his room, its walls covered with pictures of influential figures. He aimed to uncover the mastermind behind his father's downfall, including Chairman Ma and others involved. The next morning, Jin Dog reviewed the baby's case file. The VIP customer on the receipt was identified as Kai Young, a 46-year-old creative director of a comic book company known for traditional methods like ink grinding and hand pasting. Jin Dog approached her with the bag for confirmation. Kai Young naturally refused, offering various excuses to dismiss him. Jin Dog simply collected her DNA sample. That night, Kai Young was invited to the police station for questioning. Yoon Hong called Jin Dog, reporting that Kai Young and the baby shared a grandmother-grandchild DNA relationship. Significantly, Kai Young only cared about the counterfeit bag. She was Han Na's mother, the girl who attempted suicide. Jin Dog and Officer Pin immediately searched for Han Na. At the station, Anna questioned her, but Han Na remained silent or responded with, "I don't know." While everyone brainstormed, Cheon entered to talk to Han Na, sharing her pain and empathizing with her suffering. Cheon asked about the father, but Han Na refused to reveal his identity. Cheon asked Han Na to write down the names of the people she slept with 10 months prior. Several names emerged: 5 high-achieving high school seniors, whose parents were influential figures. Each mother had an alibi for their son. Police collected DNA samples from the 5 boys, but Yoon Hong reported none were the father. Jin Dog met Cheon afterward. She recounted a past incident where a student committed suicide due to academic pressure, falling in front of her. She couldn't save him and has never forgiven those who abandon their children. At the police station, Do Jin looked at a picture of Hyeon Seo, a girl missing for 7 years. The unsolved case remained a deep scar for Jin Dog. That year, Hyeon Seo showed Jin Dog a floral dress, a pair of red shoes, and secretly taken photos of the little girl. For some reason, Jin Dog was careless and didn't pay attention to these strange things. That was also the last time Jin Dog saw the girl. The next morning at the police station, a man came and said that there was a male friend who was quite close to Han Na, a teacher who had done his practicum at Han Na's school. When ordered to provide a DNA sample, this teacher demanded a warrant. Jin Dog smelled a rat. That evening, back at the police station, Do Jin had everyone review the security camera footage. They saw Han Na's front door slowly closing. Zooming in, they saw someone inside the house. Jin Dog decided to obtain DNA samples from Han Na's older brother for testing. He also obtained a DNA sample from her father, none other than Judge Ji Jun. Although wiping up the old man's saliva was a bit disgusting, Jin Dog happily chuckled like a simpleton. That night, Jin Dog and Officer Pin went to Han Na's house to inform Mrs. Ya Kai Ung of an important result. Before that, Jin Dog wanted to meet Han Na. The list she provided only aimed to get those boys demoted. That day, Han Na suddenly had a stomachache and told her mother, but her mother quickly told her to take medicine and go to school for the exam. Han Na, in agonizing pain, found scissors and gave birth to her baby herself. She deliberately put it in her mother's handbag to let the whole country know what her family was like. Jin Dog didn't beat around the bush. This was the conclusion to the case. He presented the browsing history of Mrs. Ya Kai-eung's son, Min Jin. On the day Han Na committed suicide, Min Jin's brother was also at home. Jin Dog continued. Last year, Min Jin didn't go for his annual sperm test. If he didn't do anything, why would he hide? Min Jin turned and pointed at Han Na, saying she was the one who caused all this. The test results showed Min Jin wasn't the father, but he still had to face legal charges for abusing his sister. Jin Dog felt frustrated at the police station, unable to find the perpetrator responsible for Han Na's pregnancy. Regarding another case, a few months prior, a very intelligent boy named Si-eung Jun had jumped to his death, driven to suicide by dropping from 1st to 5th place in his class. The investigation revealed that Jun had previously had his appendix removed at the hospital, meaning his DNA would be on file there. Jin Dog and 2 others set a trap at the school. Whoever had a relationship with Han Na would be revealed immediately. It was the bespectacled teacher. Han Na had planned to feign being under 14 to seduce him, threatening to expose everything if he didn't raise her grades. She was incredibly clever and manipulative. A 14-year-old shouldn't be capable of such things. The police went to Han Na's house to search for the practice exam. Her top-of-the-class ranking was a lie. Jin Dog wanted to talk to Han Na privately. Just as he received the paternity test results, a 99% match between Jun's child and Han Na's. Even Han Na didn't know who the father was. Her hands trembled as she saw the results. Jin Dog spoke gently, acknowledging her mistakes but emphasizing that she wasn't entirely at fault. He apologized on behalf of the adults, admitting they'd focused on the results without considering her feelings. Overwhelmed by Jin Dog's sincere words, Han Na burst into tears and finally confessed she'd done it out of fear of her grades. The scene shifted to the forensic lab. Du Jin wanted to meet Yoon Hong to discuss an important matter. Du Jin showed Yoon Hong Hyun Seo's missing person report. Yoon Hong had examined Hyun Seo's toes 7 years prior. The killer had thrown Hyun Seo's toes into Jin Dog's house. The scene changed again to Mr. Young sitting with Ji Jun. Mr. Young said that if Jin Dog became too unruly, they needed to shorten his leash. The two then went to meet Chairman Ma to prepare for the presidential election, brimming with confidence in Ma's victory. Mr. Young hoped that if Ma became president, he would have a prominent position in the Blue House presidential office. That evening, at a bar, a woman disrupted a couple's date. The woman in the white dress didn't know why this other woman in pink was ruining their moment. In anger, the man in the middle lightly hit the woman in pink's head with a beer bottle. A minute later, the police received a report of a woman with a severely bleeding head. As emergency responders arrived and began treating her, the enraged man took a rescuer hostage, threatening to kill him unless the woman in pink was saved. Jin Dog arrived with his trusty handcuffs to restrain the man. The scene was secured. Cheon took the woman in pink to the hospital. At the next bed, something caught her attention. The doctor lifted the woman's foot, and Cheon saw that a toe was missing. Could it be Hyun Seo? After a while, the patient woke up, unable to speak. The doctor called Cheon in to use sign language. The woman used hand signals, then had a seizure and passed out. The doctor said she had been abused for a long time. The perpetrator likely damaged her vocal cords to prevent her from speaking. A CT scan was ordered. A male nurse led the woman past Jin Dog, revealing that she was missing 2 big toes. Jin Dog recognized Hyun Seo and tried to follow, but it was too late. He checked the security footage, but the perpetrator had avoided all cameras. At the same time, Jin Dog received Yoon Hong's test report. The woman was Hyun Seo, missing for 7 years. Jin Dog ordered Code 0, the golden hour, for kidnapping cases to apprehend the culprit within the hour. Du Jin called Jin Dog to the doctor's office. He replayed the recorded camera footage. Hyun Seo tried to show Chin her tattoo, which turned out to be the location of her confinement. Du Jin, familiar with the Wonju area, and Anna together found the place she'd drawn on her hand, Pyeongwa-dong. The Level 0 code was activated. Mr. Young also arrived at the police station, saying it was a serious matter, but that didn't matter. Saving the girl was the priority. Jin Dog and Officer Pin went to Hyun Seo's confinement. The most unexpected place turned out to be the safest. The pervert had hidden her for years near his house, unnoticed. Du Jin was also frantically searching. He received a call from Yoon Hong. She said Hyun Seo's toe was found at Officer Jin's house, so she wanted Du Jin to catch the culprit. Otherwise, if the culprit fell into Jin Dog's hands, he would be killed. Jin Dog decided to drive and rammed a white car. The car was moved, revealing a basement with a window overlooking a church, exactly like the tattoo on Hyun Seo's hand. Finally, Jin Dog found the culprit's hideout. Entering the house, he discovered a very deep basement below. Jin Dog wanted to check it out. He saw the man from the photo. Jin Dog had met him before. He was taking Hyun Seo to another location. Jin Dog resolved to kill the kidnapper with his own hands, but then he stopped. He couldn't do it. He wasn't a murderer. Returning to his seat, Jin Dog packed his personal belongings, leaving his badge and resignation letter on the desk. The scene shifted to T-Woa's prison cell, the chairman's son, enjoying his imprisonment. He was already plotting with Jin Dog's enemies. At the prosecutor's office, Jin Dog confronted his father. He seemed to hate evil, not people. Punching the world didn't bring him joy. Even if Jin Dog caught T-Woa and Hyun Seo's kidnapper, the world wouldn't change. He bowed to Chief Young and left. Jin Dog visited Hyun Seo in the hospital, giving her an origami crane before leaving. After that day, no one saw Jin Dog again. He had burned everything related to Hyun Seo. Cheon found him doing this and asked why. Jin Dog simply said it wasn't needed anymore. Cheon wanted to go with Jin Dog to the pediatric hospital to see the unnamed babies, abandoned or found, many born with illnesses, still fighting for life. No matter what happened, she believed in him. Cheon and Jin Dog walked home, talking about their work. Cheon wanted Jin Dog to return to the police department, because it's where he could truly be himself. The clumsy Do Jin bought a ring to propose, unaware that a mysterious figure was watching him from afar. News reports announced the death of Chairman Ma at his home, a death that left many people without their golden spoon, referring to wealth and privilege. Do Jin attended Chairman Ma's funeral to pay his respects, briefly encountering Ti Woa and offering perfunctory condolences, expressing his desire to avoid further contact with Ti Woa. Afterward, Do Jin broke down. Ti Woa recalled past humiliations and abandonment by his father, and the constant attempts by Chairman Ma to lecture him, fueling his resentment. The next morning, rescue teams and police responded to a fire. The blaze was intense, and despite firefighting efforts, it raged uncontrollably, threatening many elderly residents and children. Rescue teams searched building after building, rescuing people. In apartment 304, an elderly man was found unconscious in a closet. Cheon and Do Jin delivered survivors to the hospital, only to receive another fire call, a fast food truck fire. This fire was quickly extinguished, but while the team ate ramen, another fire call arrived. Do Jin grew suspicious, noticing a pattern of fires occurring every 3 hours. This latest fire was in a sewage pumping station. Do Jin discovered something unusual, a star-shaped burn pattern at each fire's origin. He reported his suspicions to Officer Pin, believing this was a series of arsons. The last fire ended at 4 p.m., the next would be at 7 p.m. With only 1 minute to go until 7 p.m., and no further alerts, they held their breath. The next morning, a forensic team arrived at the scene. Anna, back at the police station, analyzed the evidence with Do Jin. According to the police and forensic analysis, the 10M fire was caused by a discarded cigarette. The sewage pumping station fire was caused by a malfunctioning methane pressure relief valve, and the cause of the fast food truck fire remained undetermined, but all findings were inconclusive. Do Jin insisted that this was a series of arsons, marked with a star symbol. He presented his evidence to the forensics team, enlisting Yoon Hong's help in finding further clues. The next morning at the hospital, Do Jin and others gathered testimonies from survivors of the 10M fire. The doctor provided Do Jin with blood samples from patients. Yoon Hong took the samples for testing. Do Jin, missing his police friend, called Officer Pin for Jin Dog's whereabouts. He found Jin Dog, seemingly an alcoholic, in the woods. Do Jin urged Jin Dog to stop drinking, revealing that he hadn't sold his house, hoping Hyonesio would return. Do Jin then explained that serial killers are the worst type of criminal for police, but arsonists are the worst for firefighters. He pointed out that killers hide when tired, arsonists don't. He stressed that as long as there's oxygen and fuel, there will be more fires. He then gave Jin Dog a USB drive containing the fire incident reports. After reviewing the information, Jin Dog seemed to grasp Do Jin's point. That evening, at the police station, Officer Pin and Officer Cham responded to a commotion. Jin Dog had brought in a cat that died at 7 p.m. the day of the multiple fires. He brought the cat to the station for an autopsy. Yoon Hong performed a necropsy, discovering that the cat had ingested bread containing toluene, a highly flammable substance. A small spark could have easily ignited it. Analysis of the blood samples matched those of patients who inhaled smoke from the 10M fire, all containing toluene. The thermal decomposition of the 10M and 4 p.m. fires both showed toluene, suggesting a possible link between the cat's death and the fires. Jin Dog, with this new evidence, sensed the presence of the arsonist. They went to the location where the cat died, finding a trail of toilet paper and a container of toluene-laced bread. The completely burned toilet paper left no trace. Do Jin discovered star symbols on the wall, the arsonist's calling card. Jin Dog pointed out that only a firefighter would leave such a mark at the scene. Do Jin himself. He questioned Do Jin about any enemies, warning that this wouldn't be the last incident. Back at the station, Jin Dog spread out a map and began his investigation, noting that killers flee the scene, but arsonists don't. They want to watch the flames. He explained this to the 2 senior officers and Anna, before going to Cheon's house. He needed to find the arsonist, and Cheon returned Jin Dog's firefighter badge. The next morning, the fire crew arrived at the sausage truck. The fire, scheduled for 1 p.m., coincided with the high sun. Du Jin planned to observe the arsonist's method. At 1 p.m., Yoon Hong measured the temperature at 70 degrees, noting its relevance to light refraction, suggesting a possible method for igniting the truck. To successfully ignite the truck, the arsonist would have to be in a nearby building. Jin Dog and the police went to the 3rd floor of the Star building near the truck and found numerous refractive lenses focused on the truck. Entering the arsonist's apartment, they identified him as In Jun. Jin Dog quickly checked the security cameras, fearing In Jun had already fled. That evening, Du Jin and Cheon were on patrol when they saw a cat and Du Jin braked sharply. They reached a high bridge, overlooking the beautiful Seoul night skyline. As Du Jin prepared to propose to Cheon with his ring, an emergency call came in. A fire at the Myeongdong parking garage required rescue. They rushed to the scene. Meanwhile, Anna discovered that In Jun's phone had been activated near the Myeongdong fire. Jin Dog also wanted to join the rescue operation and apprehend the criminal. A ladder connected the two buildings. Jin Dog and Du Jin had to climb it to reach the fire. Du Jin broke through the roof to extinguish the fire, followed by Jin Dog. Neither reappeared, and the fire intensified and began to explode.